What is up, guys? Team Yugi Feels here with another deck profile. It's been a little more than a week since I posted a video. I've been like so caught up in my schedule and routine that I just completely forgot to post a deck profile. It just completely slipped my mind. So today I am bringing you guys an Invoked Shaddoll deck, Invoked Shaddoll Dogmatika, however you want to word it. I think that this deck is really fun. I think there is a good amount of competitive viability to it. I don't think it's the best deck in the format, but I think that it does stand a chance against a lot of the meta, and the fact that it's so versatile in the way that you can side deck too is pretty neat. So I'm going to hop right into this and show you guys basically what I'm playing here, because this deck is always fun. I've always had a very strong love and passion for Invoked and a very strong love and passion for Shaddolls, and Dogmatika is kind of cool too, but it's hasn't been out long enough for me to sit there and say, oh yes, this is, you know, one of my all-time favorite archetypes. So we'll hop right into this though. We have the triple Alistair, of course, for the Invoked engine. Being able to get into your invocation is pretty crazy, and if your opponent chains Lancia, then you could still just fusion summon a Shaddoll using materials from your hand too, so you don't have to worry about Lancia hurting you. Then the Shaddoll lineup, we have a decent Shaddoll lineup. 2 Wendy, 2 Squamata, 1 Beast, 1 Hedgehog, 1 Falco, 1 Dragon, and 1 Ariel. Arguably, you know, people would say that Wendy is the best one, but right now I actually think Ariel is the best one because of the graveyard disruption. This basically destroys most of the decks in the format currently. It really hurts Eldritch, it hurts Dinos, it hurts Virtual World. It just hurts everything, being able to banish stuff from graveyard. So keep in mind that Ariel is a fantastic card overall, and the implications that it has on the meta are pretty crazy when you think about it. Those are all the Shaddoll cards, though. The Dogmatika engine is pretty small. I play 1 Ecclesia, 1 Fleur-de-Lis, and 1 Maximus. I think a lot of people are starting to resort to like the 1-1-1 ratio. I thought about playing a second Ecclesia, but honestly, after, you know, looking at the way the test hands went, playing the 1 Ecclesia is perfectly fine. I don't think the engine is the strong point of the deck at all. I think the Shaddoll and the Invoke stuff is, and Dogmatika is just a small little package that you toss in there. Then some hand traps. We got the triple Ash and then the Gamma package. So the Gamma package, not only does it help just in general as far as, you know, negating cards, but it also gives you light targets to send off of Shaddoll Fusion from your deck, which is pretty important because you're probably going to resolve 1 Gamma in the game. And after that, you might want to continue doing some pretty cool plays. So, you know, sending the Gammas to make a construct is pretty powerful. The Ashes don't really need an explanation, though. Ash is just Ash. That's the monster count, though. We're going to hop over to the spells. So we play our obligatory 4 copies of Magical Meltdown. This card is crazy, to be perfectly honest. I love Magical Meltdown. It's just super powerful. The ability to make it so your fusions can't be negated, essentially, is absolutely nuts. So keep in mind the 4 Meltdown is probably a good bet. Then we have triple Dear Servant. I love this card too. It just kind of sucks that it could be hit with Bell. That's kind of a downside. And Ash, like both of them. Like that's just really, really terrible, but that's okay. You know, you got to do what you got to do. Then for the fusion spells, of course, we have 3 Shaddoll Fusion and 3 L Shaddoll Fusion. I think that 3 and 3 is correct. For a while, some people are playing 2L, but I don't think that you should be playing 2. I think that it's way too good to be playing less than 3. Then we have 2 Invocation. I don't think you need 3 of this, though, to be honest, because you search it so easily. It just doesn't come up very often where, like, you need a 3rd one. And we're not playing, like, Desires or anything, so I don't worry about losing copies. Then the trap cards, I just play 2 Punishment and 1 Schism for the rest of the deck. I think that's 40 cards exact. I really like the ratios. They work out perfectly fine. I don't have any like bricking issues so far. The only thing that I always tell everyone is that I'm not a huge fan of the Gamma package, because if you draw the driver, it's just a sad day. But that's just unfortunately the way that the cookie crumbles. Moving on to the extra deck, though. Extra deck I think is fairly basic for this deck. Nothing super crazy. I'll explain 1 card that I'm playing multiples of, because most people only play 1 of it, but I think 2 is pretty good. So we have 2 Invoked Mechaba, 1 Purgatrio, and 1 of, don't ask me to pronounce this one because this is the only one that I can't really pronounce. It's Ogoids or Ogodides, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Agodis, something like that. These four are probably your best bet as far as your invoked fusion monsters go. Obviously, this one you're going to go into the least, and you're probably going to go into Mechaba the most. Purgatrio is going to be kind of your middle ground because you have other routes to get to it, which is pretty cool, but it's definitely one of the ones that I think is the middle ground. But like I said, Mechaba you're going to make all the time. That's just going to be your go-to most of the time. Then the Shaddoll fusions, I play 2 Construct and 2 Winda. This is pretty basic. I don't think you need 3 of either. And then the card that I think you should play 2 of is 2 Apokalon. This one kind of like throws people off because it makes it so there's like 1 or 2 cards less in your extra deck that you can send off of Maximus. So essentially, like, I want to be able to dump one. That way I can get the Schism Search. But at the same time, I also want to be able to, later in the game, fusion summon one. Or possibly fusion summon one of them first turn. So I think playing 2 is actually really, really good. And the fact that it can't be destroyed by battle is also ridiculous. Like, the card is just busted. I think the card is amazing. Then for the lovely Dogmatika engine cards, we have an Entis, an Ash Dragon, and an Omega. Omega also plays alongside with the Gamma and Driver. So I had to cut 1 Entis to play the second Apokalon. If you feel like you want to play a second Entis, then cut 1 Apokalon. I personally just think that playing the second Apokalon is really strong, and the Entis, it doesn't come up as frequently. Typically speaking, you're going to do your Maximus play, and you're not going to send the Entis if you're going first. And even if you do, you could send the Entis and the Omega and then just shuffle it right back. So you have options. There's a bunch of options that you can run with. Then moving on to the Link monsters, just 1 Almirage and 1 Secure Gardna. This is pretty basic. I don't play any other Link monsters. I don't think there's very much room to do so anyways. And I prefer just summoning out fusion cards in this deck because they work a lot better. Moving on to the side deck though, we have a bunch of hand traps that I tossed in here. So Triple Droll, this is for a lot of matchups, Drytron being like the primary one, but everyone knows that already. And any deck that really just searches heavily, you just hit them with Droll and then they kind of suffer. Double Nibiru, I think that you want to have at least some sort of board interruption, and Nibiru definitely gets you there. 2 Bell, also good for graveyard disruption. Additionally, 2 Psycho Reader, which is just for Drytron. I think that this is a really, really good lineup. If you wanted, you could cut 1 Droll and squeeze in another card in the deck, in the side deck here. But for right now, I think playing 3 Droll over, 3 copies of all the other hand traps that I'm playing is probably better. Then for the spells, just 3 Dark Ruler and 3 Cosmic. These don't need an excessive amount of explanation either. You get rid of some back row and you negate some boards. Like, that's it's basically what the deck does. You just want to get over everything as much as possible and bait out as many negations as you can. So that basically rounds up the side deck, which brings our video to essentially a close. That's the Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika deck profile. I'm thoroughly enjoying this deck. I'm probably going to take it to locals tomorrow. I've been trying to play decks that aren't like the #1 deck in the meta. I just prefer doing that at this point because I don't really like Drytron and I cannot stand playing Virtual World. I have the entire like deck together, but I cannot stand playing it. It bores me. I literally want to fall asleep playing the deck. So I avoid playing it as much as possible. So essentially that's why you guys see most of the deck profiles that you do, because I prefer to play off the beaten path decks that typically aren't considered to be better and kind of catch people off guard because they may not side for it as much. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And for right now, this is Team Yugi Feels signing out.